Hi everybody, my name is Estella Cedillo, and today we're going to be talking about the Realia strategy. The Realia strategy is when you incorporate real life objects into your lesson plan. And what I mean by real life objects are objects that you would be using at home every day. For example, like if we're talking about sugar in the classroom and you bring real sugar, that's what I'm talking about. This is what Realia strategy incorporated into your lesson plan would look like. Um, this strategy would build into the background knowledge of the student, and it would obviously build that vocabulary word into their lexicon. So it just helps the students identify objects with their senses. Their senses would be like seeing, feeling, hearing, and even smelling the object. And it's just a great way to incorporate that vocabulary word if they're having a challenging time. So there's three different ways to incorporate it, and the Realia strategy says that it has to be a real life object, but there are circumstances where you will not be able to bring in the real thing. For example, like if you're talking about cars, you cannot really bring in a car into the classroom. So what do? You bring in a replica or a model of that vocabulary word. If you're talking about the rainforest, obviously you cannot bring in the rainforest into the classroom, but what you can do is bring in a photograph, which is a semi-concrete object, right? Um, every time you step down from the real life object to a replica to a semi-concrete or a photograph, you're losing some of those senses. So you obviously a photograph, you won't be able to um, feel the real vocabulary word, or you won't be able to hear it or smell it. So it loses as you go down from a real life object to a model to a photograph, you're losing the senses. Um, the multicultural children's book I will be using today will be Cake Day by Ellen Mayer. I am targeting first grade level, and I will be doing the teaks of mathematics, and it would be under knowledge and skills. One, mathematical process standards, which is the student uses mathematical processes to acquire and demonstrate mathematical understanding. Under A, the student will apply mathematics to problems arising in everyday life, society, and the workplace. And I am gonna do intermediate for the ALPS. The needed materials would be my book. I will need sugar. I will need flour. I will need salt, measuring cup, baking powder, a whisk, a spoon, a bowl, and some eggs. The way I would use this strategy and my multicultural book for this lesson plan, it would be I would read the book, and as we're reading the book will say things like, can you crack an egg? Or can you stir all the ingredients? Can you, let's see where it says. We're gonna bake a cake and looking for the ingredients. We need flour, salt, baking powder, sugar. So I would read the book, and as it's saying some of the vocabulary like baking powder, sugar, I would bring the sugar out and show them and pass it around if it's like in containers, so they can see and touch it and smell it. They can open it up and smell it, so they can completely understand what sugar is, what salt is, what flour is. Then as it gets into how we bake a cake, how we put the ingredients in, then I would get my mixing bowl and I would start mixing in my salt. I would bring out my flour and measuring cup, and I would pour it in, measure it, put it into my mixing bowl, continue to add the ingredients, and then with my spoon I would mix it in. With my whisk, I would whisk it in, whisk all the ingredients, have the batter ready. Bring the cake dish and butter it up, pour in my cake batter, and I would be demonstrating each step, how you would put the ingredients, let them touch it, let them feel it, let them see how I'm doing it, and that is how you would demonstrate the Realia strategy. Now for them to really understand it, and they're gonna be kids in the first grade, I would set up a table. The students, like the little centers the students have, and each group would have their ingredients. They would measure out the batter. They would do everything like I did. And I would come around and see if they're actually knowing the vocabulary words like salt and sugar and flour. And those are pretty basic stuff that you would think most of the kids would understand. And then it gets to, there was a word in here that says batter. A lot of kids in that, intermediate stage wouldn't understand what batter means. So if they're able to see it, once we mix all the ingredients, they will be able to see what a batter is. If they come across that later on in the household, or in a cake store, if they're ever taking a little mini lesson for kids, it will come back to them. So it's a great way, the Realia strategy, for the students to have knowledge of that vocabulary word and be able to remember it. It's all about building knowledge for them. So again, today we talked about the Realia strategy. I would use my book and my real life objects, which is my bowls, to let the kids build on their vocabulary. Thank you so much.